Now, it's been an interesting week in American politics, with incoming President Donald Trump eyeing off the territory of other nations. He's expressed an interest in Greenland, Canada and the Panama Canal coming under American control, and he's refused to rule out using military force to make it happen.
It came as his son, Donald Trump Jr., visited Greenland, which Mr Trump Sr. views as strategically important. Simon Jackman is a political scientist from the University of Sydney and an expert in US politics. Good morning, Simon. Thanks for coming on to the program. Territorial expansion isn't something we normally associate with American leaders, is it?
Certainly not in this century, but it's worth pointing out that, that's how the United States became the United States, going right back to the Louisiana Purchase of what is now the Midwestern United States from France. Going into the more modern times, purchasing Alaska. And of course, the US Virgin Islands were also added to, not a state, but a US territory through purchases. But it's been a long, long time since this has been talked about as a mode of expanding the US, what we define as the United States. And for Trump, I think it's, look, Teddy Roosevelt, the last time "Make America Great Again" was sort of used as a political slogan, sort of understanding that America was a continental power and it really did need to span, well, back then, from the Philippines all the way to Puerto Rico. And I think Trump sees himself as wanting to be a president as great as that. And what better way to leave a defining stamp on history than to once again expand the territorial reach of the United States. So that's certainly sort of the play for the history books there. There is historical precedent, and it certainly would mark you as an important leader of the United States if that would be one of your legacies.
So why Greenland? What's Donald Trump so interested in?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, isn't it? Why Greenland? Because I think Donald Trump quite simply looks at it on the map, and it looks really big to him on the map, and he sees it there sitting, halfway to Europe, if you will. And moreover, sort of as the vision on screen right now shows, it's a cold and icy place, but one where the United States, through the Cold War, did maintain a lot of military bases, understanding its strategic significance. And also, as global warming continues apace, sea lanes around either side of Greenland become incredibly strategically important as ways of linking the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific, of ways of reaching ports in Asia that don't go through the Panama Canal necessarily. And so I think, for Donald Trump and perhaps people around Donald Trump putting this idea in his head that this is going to be a place of immense strategic importance going forward. The other thing to say about as the ice recedes on Greenland over the decades to come, what mineral resources lie underneath the surface there. And of course, they are expected to be, Greenland is expected to be a source of rare earth materials, minerals that are of immense significance for a renewables future, for building semiconductors going forward. So there's a few reasons there's both strategic, both sort of fantastic, but also a little more practical as to why Greenland has piqued Trump's curiosity.
It's a self-governing Danish territory. The leaders of both countries have said no way, or at least the territory. Realistically, what are the chances Donald Trump can whip out the checkbook and make this happen?
Oh, close to zero. But it's Donald Trump, right? And that's the other thing about all this stuff. He's not even president yet. And I can remember the first time around, at the time I was directing the United States Study Center at the University of Sydney. I was spending a lot of time in Washington. I would spend a lot of time with some of Australia's senior diplomats. And every time Trump would say something like this, the cable traffic back to world capitals out of Washington goes through the roof. He is the president of the United States. There are vast resources at his disposal. Diplomats are paid, and journalists and analysts like me are paid to deal with the what-if scenarios. And here we go again. Donald Trump putting sort of seemingly far-fetched and what I think realistically have zero probability of ever coming to fruition scenarios on the table. But you have to do your homework now. How feasible is that? What would be the pros and cons? What laws are being broken? And I think the one perhaps way forward this could go would be a commercial deal. And moreover, perhaps not the entire territory, but I think more realistically, is there a deal that the United States might do with Denmark/Greenland on constructing more seaports, more military installations? Perhaps things like that might be where this lands, if it lands at all. But territorial annexation is not something, by force or coercive territorial annexation is not something democracies are supposed to do. And indeed, Russia's annexation of Crimea really sort of in the post-World War II era is really quite remarkable. They are exceedingly rare, extra-legal territorial annexations. The only country really to do it is Russia. And the idea that Donald Trump puts the United States in the same list of countries engaging in extra-legal territorial annexation sort of flies in the face of a lot of other elements of US foreign policy, such as adherence to the rules-based order and all that stuff, if Trump were to do this. So I think that realistically, the prospects of an extra-legal annexation is zero. But, a deal's a deal, and maybe there may be some money changes hands for perhaps a smaller piece, a much smaller piece of Greenland, or access to some of Greenland's more accessible fjords or seaports for strategic purposes.